Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? Good evening. I'm Cecil County Executive Danielle Hornberger, and I'd like to call this Cecil County Fiscal Year 2023 Budget Town Hall to order. The purpose of this evening's meeting is to give you, Cecil County residents, a chance to provide input on the budget before the formal budgeting process begins. As you may know, the FY 2023 budget will cover July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Citizen input plays an important role in developing the county's budget priorities each year. I thank you for your participation, and I look forward to hearing from my fellow Cecil residents on issues of importance to you, your families, your communities. For today's meeting, we have 28 participants registered to give comment. To allow all registrants an equal opportunity, each will approach the podium with 2 minutes to speak. And let's see here. Please be mindful that this is a time for citizens to give their input on the budgeting process, and we request that all attendees remain respectful and refrain from commenting on other residents' remarks. Finally, public comment is our chance to hear from you. In an effort to run an efficient meeting and be respectful of your time, we will not be answering questions or providing comments in response to given remarks as part of tonight's programming. Steve Overbay, Acting Director of Administration, is sitting to my right and will be moderating the meeting. Virginia Smith will be running the clock and calling individuals to the podium to queue up 2 at a time. I'd like to also recognize that we have Councilman Bill Kautz and Councilwoman Donna Culberson. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Director of Finance, James Appel, who will give a brief presentation on the county's budget process before we move into public comment. Thank you.
Good evening. The process for the budget is a kind of a long and complex one. But I'm going to go through it on a very high level. Yeah, go. So I'll just go ahead. The process starts in October when we send out forms to all of our departments and agencies requesting their initial feedback. In December, their capital projects, the long-term projects, are due to finance. In January, their operating requests are due back to finance. And in February and in March, we begin the process of identifying which projects we'll be able to do and which ones we'll need to cut. Those meetings are ongoing with myself, the county administrator, the director of administration, and the budget chair, and the directors of each of these departments. The public schools and the library also submit their budgets in early March, and the final budget from the county executive to the county council is due on April 1st. Throughout April and May, we hold weekly meetings with the council as well as myself and the department heads and go through each of the budgets for each of the departments fairly carefully. This is an opportunity for the council to then fully understand what the request from the county is and make any adjustments as necessary. Towards the end of May, actually I forgot to check that date. Bill, do you have that? The date for the public hearing? I apologize. The council holds a meeting, a public hearing similar to this to get your input on the budget as well. That's going to be towards the end of May, and right around June 1st is the formal adoption of the budget. So a lot of times folks ask, okay, where's all the taxpayer money coming from, and where's it going? The revenue comes almost 53% comes from property taxes. That's real property taxes. That's what you pay for owning property in Cecil County. Another 31%, $65.5 million, comes from income taxes. That's the piggyback tax on your Maryland state taxes. There is personal property tax and other taxes on businesses throughout the county at 16.8 million, or about 8%. There are charges for services, and land recreation has a lot to do with the transfer of property within the county. 10.7% or about 10.7 million, or about 5%. And then other taxes and grants and transfers from other agencies, from state, federal, about 6.9 million, or 3%. We will bring in just under $211 million in fiscal year 22. So where does that money go? Over half of it goes to education. Both the Cecil County Public Schools and Cecil County College. Oops. Sorry. Salaries are about just under a quarter of the expenses for the county. Debt service to do the capital projects, build schools, big road and infrastructure projects. The county goes out and borrows money rather than spending money that's being collected in that year. That's done through bonds. So it's kind of like the mortgage on your house. So there's debt service. There might be interest and principal that needs to be paid back on those loans. So that's about $19 million annually. Supplies and materials, you can imagine what that is, 11.3 million, about 5%. Professional fees and contracts, just under 11 million. The library budget is just over 6 million. The circuit court and the state's attorney's offices, just under 6 million. Other transfers to departments, about 2.5 million. The health department, which is mostly state funded, but there is a county portion to it, 3.7 million. Utilities for across the county, 1.4 million. The Board of Elections is 1.1 million, giving us our total expenses of also 210.9 million. So it is a balanced budget. So far in FY22, the personal property tax revenue is tracking to budget. The budget projections are just that. We're never exactly sure how much property taxes will bring in, how much income taxes will bring in. We have good guesses, very educated guesses based on previous information as well as information from the State Department of Assets and Taxation, but again, it's still just a budget. So the property taxes are tracking to budget. Income tax revenue is coming in probably about 3% better than budget, so we're hoping there'll be an extra $2 million surplus in that line. And our expenses so far, half the year, are just over 2% better than budget. So looking at about a savings of 4.4 million so far for the year. So that's the budget in the, at a really high level. This is taxpayer money. And the reason we hold these meetings is because we do want to hear from you. We appreciate the input and we do take it to heart. As the county executive mentioned, there are a number of you here to speak. Virginia Smith is going to be calling you up one at a time. You do have 2 minutes. We do have a clock up on the wall, so you can look up and see how much time you have left. When it buzzes, please be respectful to everyone and cut off your sentence so the next person can talk. So, Virginia, please call our first testifier.
Let's get started. First up will be Simone Foy, followed by Connie Carty.
Good evening. I'm Simone, and I'm currently a junior at Elton High School, and I'm also the current student member of the board for Cecil County Board of Education. I would first like to thank everybody in the council and in the office who was able to make our new turf field happen. That would be greatly appreciated by our students and athletes to come. And I just love seeing my school prosper like that and continue to grow inside and out. And such things like that would be our basketball court as well. Our basketball court has a horrible hump in the middle. It's almost impossible to have sporting events in there because the only way to suppress the damage of the hump is to have really high heat. And high heat when coming in is like unbearable because about a week back we had a student versus staff basketball game. We had some amazing games the staff won. But as more students were coming in to sit down in crowd, it was almost horrible to sit in there. It was so hot, it was so uncomfortable, sweaty, it's disgusting. But any help to help that, we greatly appreciate it. One other thing is our tennis courts. Our tennis courts, I have so many tennis friends, and they love tennis, but the only problem is there's like so many horrible cracks in the middle. And yeah, we do frequently fix them with tar, but once they go out there with the tar, it's sticky, it sticks to the shoes, so it's a hazard, and they're always tripping. I mean, they're wearing nice skirts and shoes, brand new tennis shoes, but the tar is just horrible. So any help to help with our basketball court and tennis would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your time.
Connie Carty, please.
Good evening, I'm Connie Carty. I'm from Earlville, and I'm here to appeal to you to restore the funding, full funding to support Monday through Saturday, full service hours at the Cecilton Library. I would point out to you it's the only branch that does not provide Saturday service. I am a lifelong resident of this area, a retiree on a fixed income, and I cannot afford internet access. This is where the library provides a very vital role for me. I recently visited the Northeast Library, and I have to tell you, it is an embarrassment in riches in comparison to what we have at our library and the very limited hours and days that we have service. Again, I'd like to appeal to you, and please give consideration to expanding the hours, providing the budget that will permit that. Thank you.
Lois Drake, followed by Phyllis Kilby, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Lois Drake. I'm a Cecil County resident, and I want to address the budgeted funds for the Cecil County Social Services. My personal experience includes having worked with various departments of social services as a social worker in Maryland and Delaware. A chart from the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report of Cecil County General Fund revenues and expenditures showed that expenditures or funds for Cecil County Social Services for fiscal year 2020 were $437,120. This same chart shows that funds for Cecil County Social Services for fiscal year 2021 were $322,698,000. In other words, it indicates a decrease of $114,422 in funds for social services and or its staff from 2020 to 2021. A chart of the budget expenses for 2022's approved budget shows various cuts to staff and retirees totaling $87,000 or $87,649 or 19.9% from 2021 to 2022. I do not have the details for specific budgets for various social service departments, but I do know that maintaining good staff is important and that social services are there to provide help to Cecil County residents when needed. Services they provide, as you probably know, include things like child and adult protective services, adult services, medical assistance, domestic violence and rape crisis counseling, adoption services, intensive family services for families where children are at risk for foster care, and other services like temporary cash and assistance and food stamps. Most of, if not all of us, know people who have received these services or have received them ourselves at times. So should we say again, for the coming budget, that social services should have a cut in Cecil County funding, we can do better than that.
Okay. Phyllis Kilby, followed by Dee Ansley.
Hello, good evening. I'm Phyllis Kilby, I'm from Calora. When I was county commissioner over 20 years ago, one of the first items of business that confronted us as a totally new board was unfunded maintenance. Everything from roads to bridges to the outdated sheriff's patrol cars to schools to libraries. I know that this administration puts a high priority on tax cuts, but I would like to point out that a $30 to $60 per year tax cut does not mean much if the county roads go unpaved, the bridges continue to deteriorate, or our public buildings fall apart or go unused due to lack of funding. Citizens expect a certain level of responsibility from the county government. We are stewards of our buildings, our roads, our recreation facilities, all those things that uphold the quality of life that current citizens expect and that businesses look at when they are seeking to locate in our county. I urge you to consider in your budget funding in all those areas that need continued funding to maintain the level of service taxpayers in the county have come to rely on. Deferred maintenance or inadequate funding may save money in the short term, but ultimately will cost more in the long run. Surplus funds from your current budget to the federal and state funds that have been pouring into the county can be used as one-time expenditures to address needs, not only in maintenance, but also in budget cuts made in your previous budget.
Heidi Galtney, followed by Ann Draper. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Heidi.
I'm Heidi Galtney. I'm wondering when you plan to start spending this federal CARES and ARPA money. Mr. Bopel said in the summer that there was no particular hurry. We went through the summer, we went through the fall, we went through the winter. The ARPA money alone is $20 million for 2022, and then another $20 million for 2023 through 2026. The money needs to be spent on those most affected by the pandemic. So I would urge you to get some experts on a committee, make some good decisions, and do the right thing for Cecil County. Cecil County did receive some federal money from the CARES Act called Project Open Space. That grant was $1.1 million, and instead of putting the turf field at Rising Sun, apparently it's going to the Elton High School turf field. So that costs about $800,000. That leaves another $300,000 unclaimed. What do you plan to do with that $300,000? Why not add in another $500,000 from your 21 million surplus that I've seen I didn't see it here, but I've seen it in writing, so I know it exists. Why don't you just put in another $500,000, and then all the high school fields can have the upgraded turf. Renovations were done to the administration building in the office for Ms. Hornberger and her legal department. The cost of those renovations is reported to be about $90,000 to $100,000. It's for her and her legal staff. This was CARES Act money intended for taxpayers to relieve citizens' difficulties with the pandemic. That same money that Mr. Appel says we are in no hurry to use somehow became top priority for her legal services. On the subject of the legal department, prior to your administration, the county used one lawyer and one legal aide. Now you have 2 lawyers, 3 legal aides.
Thank
You're
you.
apparently trying to hire
Thank
another
you.
lawyer.
Thank you. Dee Emsley, please. Sorry, I skipped one. We're just going to be one behind. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dee Emsley. I live in beautiful Crystal Beach in Earlville. Everyone wants more money. My concern is for the libraries. I'm not asking for more money. I'm asking for the money that was cut from the libraries in last year's budget to be restored this year. Having libraries in our county that can't be open the hours they were before to serve the citizens because there isn't enough money budgeted to staff them is sad. All of the libraries are now open fewer hours because of the budget cuts. We are especially hard hit below the canal because the Chesapeake City and Cecilton libraries have to share their staff and are each only open limited hours 3 days a week. Senior citizens and students are often dependent on the library for access to computers and internet, particularly in our remote area. Please reconsider the needs of the county libraries and find the dollars to fully fund them as they were before. Thank you.
Ann Draper, please, followed by John Capral.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I am a county resident and property owner, and so this is our budget, isn't it? And here's what I'm here to speak to. I'm also here to speak to the libraries. As a former librarian, not for the county, but the University of Delaware, I feel very strongly that limiting library access is wrong on so many levels. It's an elitist statement to think that every family, every student can come to the library at 6 o'clock to do what they may want or need to do, and that they have internet access at home or other means available to be able to do it elsewhere. To limit, this is the most fundamental of our values, to be able to give our citizens access to information, and if we curtail that, what are we saying? Certainly not for the sake of renovations or new cars. There is no social responsibility in doing that. So I was heartened by your presentation tonight that says you're doing better in some of your income areas than you projected. Don't wait till July 1st. Get those libraries open in the evening now.
John Capral, followed by Jason Smith.
Hello, my name's John Capral. I live in the good old Orville, Maryland, and I'm past president of the Lower Cecil County Senior Citizens. Okay, I'll tell you about the Cecil County Senior Citizens. It's a group of about 75 of us that we meet every Tuesday at St. Stephen's Church. Okay, we're self-supported. We don't depend on any money from the county at all. So everything we do ourselves. And I want to fight for the seniors in our community to keep the library open in Cecil County. Okay? This is the last quarter of our lives. We raised our children. We did good jobs. Basically, most of us are on fixed incomes. It's not like we can take cruises and go places and do things. We need our library. Our library is a very important part of being a senior. You get books to read. Our seniors, one of the things that our seniors can really count on is when they go to the library, the girls there, they can help them pick out movies, they can pick out books, there's book clubs, there's so much for our senior citizens to do. And our senior, and they're on fixed incomes. I can tell you stories, I can cry. Some of our seniors come to our meetings, they don't have money to buy lunch, and we have to provide it for them. So the library is so important to them. Not only that, and there's 3 senior centers around Cecil County Library, and one's a low-income senior center, and they can walk to the library to get books and feel good about themselves. Like I said, it's the last quarter of our lives.
Thank you, sir. Jason Smith, followed by Michael Sack.
Good evening. My name is Jason Smith. I'm a Cecil County resident. I'd like to thank the administration for the opportunity to provide input for the upcoming budget. Listening to everyone here this evening, especially the gentleman I just followed, try to sum it up here. I'm a business owner, and I'm frequently in the vicinity of the Northeast Library. I think libraries are important. It just seems like they're not equal. If anybody here goes to the YMCA, we don't go to the Y between 9 and 5. I think it might be better for students, for older individuals and younger individuals to be able to have access later in the evening. Saturdays at 5 o'clock, that's a really early time to close, in my opinion. You know, if you want to do soccer in the morning with your children, but you can't get to the library later because it closes at 5. So maybe it's not a matter of keeping it open, it's when it is open. It would seem when I go past the other libraries, they don't seem to be as fancy as others. So maybe, I guess, give equal funding or flat funding and then make them work within the parameters that work best for their communities. Thank you.
Michael Zach, followed by Carson White.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Zach, and I'm a 22-year veteran of law enforcement here in Cecil County, 19 of those being with the Cecil County Sheriff's Office. I've been on the negotiating team for every contract ratified by the county and the Fraternal Order of Police, where I served as president for 8 years. During each and every one of those contract negotiations, I have preached to the representatives of the county that our sheriff's deputies are underpaid compared to neighboring jurisdictions. If you do not increase the salaries for these individuals, you will lose them. Each time, the county provides slight increases to salary, hardly to no increases to benefits, in fact stripping some away, and guess what happened? We lost them. We are in a crisis, and this cannot be understated. Within the next several months, we will lose several certified vested deputies to a neighboring state, a county that borders ours, and potentially a town within this county, all over pay. While seeking election, these same deputies listen to you as you proclaim to be a supporter of law enforcement. They listen to you tell us that law enforcement is your top priority, as it very well should be. They listen to you tell us that any cop would want to work here because of the bucolic setting, and within the next couple of weeks they are being rushed to the hospital because they've just been shot. You want me to recruit 20-something-year-old men and women to this county on what promise? You will be the most underpaid in this profession. You will be hailed as the lead law enforcement agency in the county with the potential of qualifying for assisted living. You want me to tell them that everyone in this room will tell you that they can do this job better than you, but not one of them would touch it for the pay or the danger. Please don't tell me it's about tax base. When we start contract negotiations, we're asked to compare salaries to those agencies or populations that are similar in size. We do, and guess what it shows? Underpaid. The goalpost then gets moved and we're asked to compare to small townships in Pennsylvania, and guess what it shows? Underpaid. To show you what we're dealing with, the Kent County Sheriff's Office just advertised lateral pay starting at $65,000 a year and a starting salary of $58,000. You'll have to be employed at the Cecil County Sheriff's Office for 11 years to even come close.
Thank you, sir. Carson White, followed by Kim Williams.
Good evening. I'm Deputy White. I've been in the Sheriff's Office for 6 years now. Over these past 6 years, I've watched numerous deputies leave the Cecil County Sheriff's Office, not because of the current state of affairs in this nation, but to other allied agencies, to include the Newcastle County Police Department, Kent County, Baltimore County, and the Harford County Sheriff's Office. As it stands currently, I'm part of the EL 32. I'm set to lose almost 75% of my class. These vacating members of the Cecil County Sheriff's Office are all experienced law enforcement professionals, and the majority are coming from the Patrol Division, which is the backbone of an agency. Loss of experienced personnel as it relates to law enforcement is a death sentence for an agency. Law enforcement is a career which new law enforcement officers learn from experienced personnel. Academy simulations and written objective-based learning are only the building blocks of law enforcement. Without these experienced law enforcement officers acting as a guiding light, these new law enforcement officers will be significantly disadvantaged while faced with critical incidents, leading to a reduction in quality law enforcement as it relates to the public we serve. The reason why these deputies have chosen to leave, okay, some vacating deputies will be making over $20,000 more in annual salary than a deputy such as myself with 6 years on. Executive Hornberg, you've been provided with concrete statistics for my fellow fraternal brothers and sisters at the FOP Lodge 2. I am advising you to please put considerate thought in your choice of placing public safety on the back burner list of your priorities and reevaluate this decision. It has become a necessity for retention, recruitment, and quality of life for my fellow deputies. Thank you.
Kim Williams, followed by Christy Stevens.
Good evening. I'm Kim Williams. I'm an Elkton resident, CCPS grad, and employee. Currently, I'm an assistant principal and a parent of a 9th grader at Elkton High and a 7th grader at Northeast Middle. Studies show that sports programs improve the health of communities, especially those with vulnerable populations. In addition to physical health benefits, the social, emotional, and mental health advantages our youth receive from participating in school and community sports are invaluable. It's more important now as we rebuild after COVID stifled social development over the past 2 years.
You may know my students as those who might serve you at Starbucks, but we know them as resilient young people who have often gone through more than we can even imagine. These are the students that use athletics as their way to stay out of trouble and off the streets. In my 5 years at Elton High, I've watched Coach Feeney Gibbons directly impact and mold young men in football and basketball. These students have higher grades and more academic motivation during these seasons, year after year. Many students use sports to have more opportunities, like our state champ track star, Miss Isia Brown, who will use her talents to go to college and beyond. I would like to say thank you to the commissioners and Executive Hornberger for moving forward with the turf field and track at Elton High. This will have a positive impact on not only the EHS teams, but also Cecil County Parks and Rec. I'm asking as a parent and an Elton High School employee to additionally fund the replacement of our gym floor and repair of the tennis courts at both Elton and Perryville High. Currently, our gym floor is bowing and riddled with 24 screws that are trying to hold the finished layer of wood to the subfloor. It is so bad that our facility staff literally cut out and removed pieces of flooring to temporarily patch it. Lastly, our tennis courts have 5-inch gouges that run across all 6 courts, and one of them is completely condemned. These are the only netted courts in all of Elton for any citizens to play tennis. Perryville's are no different, as their courts are plagued with large cracks that have to be backfilled just so students can practice. The damage to the court has caused the poles to be lifted and nets are uneven to the point that it is out of regulation.
Thank you. Thank you. Christy Stevens, followed by Ethan Johnson.
Good evening, my name is Christy Stevens and I am a property owner, a business owner, a parent of 4 students in Cecil County Public Schools, and I also serve as the Vice President of the Cecil County Board of Education. I want to speak on a few key items that I believe should be funding priorities for the county. We still have 8 elementary schools without secure entrances. Secure entrances ensure that all visitors who are entering the buildings are forced into the main office before having access to the general student population. Secure entrances at all schools have been deferred since 2017. Prior to COVID, the cost to secure each school was $200,000. With inflation and the rising cost of construction, we are now looking at a price tag of $240,000 per school. This must be a priority. The longer we wait, the more expensive the cost will be, in more ways than one. At this time, I'd invite any Rising Sun High School students and or staff members to stand. I represent them. We are thrilled that Elton High School will now be one of the 4 high schools with a turf field. There is often a negative perception about funding athletics, but the overall benefit to students and communities is immeasurable. Rising Sun High School will now be the only high school in our county without a turf field. Yes, Calvert Park is nearby, but facilities on a school campus where the school sports teams and marching band have priority is quite different than a borrowed field. One of the reasons that our football team does not use Calvert is because they cannot charge admission. Football is a breadwinner for high school athletic booster clubs. In addition, our students and coaches have to walk from the school to the park and back, which may not seem like a big deal to many, but keep in mind that they are not just walking themselves, they are having to carry all of the equipment needed to play. Imagine having to walk a mile each day to work. I don't think that would happen here on Chesapeake Boulevard. There also is the issue of no locker rooms at Calvert Park. Our band and sports teams have been denied use because of previously
Thank you, ma'am.
events.
Ma'am, thank you.
It truly is not a good venue for Rising Sun High School.
Andy Johnson, you're next, please, followed by Shelley Hollis.
Today to support the inclusion of funding for a turf field at Rising Sun High School in the forthcoming budget. You were quoted on February 25th as voicing your support for the funding of a turf field at Elton High School. I am encouraged by this attitude and expect similar support for funding for a turf field at Rising Sun High School, the only remaining high school in Cecil and Hartford counties, and the only school in the UCBAC conference that does not have one. Without funding a turf field at Rising Sun High School, nearly 400 student athletes, some who are in this room today, will be denied the same opportunity and access to the kinds of high-quality facilities that you support for all other students in the county. Rising Sun High School has not received a major upgrade to its athletic fields and facilities since the opening of the school in 1991. We have been told that because there is a turf field nearby at Calvert Regional Park, that the needs of the community are met. However, Calvert Park does not meet the needs of our high school athletes. First, utilizing the facilities at Calvert Regional Park for some sports creates a conflict for the athletic trainer that is mandated to be at the high school sporting events and practices, but cannot be in two places at once, resulting in delays in care and potentially severe consequences for injured student athletes. In addition, student athletes must walk through the woods or along roads during times of the year when fading light can impact the visibility of drivers, creating a safety issue for athletes that are forced to commute to their home field. The county's plan to expand services and increase revenue at Calvert Park has been successful, yet this expansion has come at the cost to Rising Sun High School and its athletes, who are being asked to do things that other schools in the county do not require of their teams, like sharing field space, practicing in confined areas, and utilizing space that was not designated for athletics. Now is the time to achieve the goal of providing high-quality recreational facilities that enhance our youth programming, reduce maintenance costs, and best serve the needs of multiple end users at the county-wide level. Fund a turf field at the Rising Sun High School field. Thank you.
Shelley Hollis, followed by Tara Testerman.
Hi, my name is Shelby Allis. I'm a lifelong Cecil County resident, and I'd like to share why fully funding the Cecil County Public Library should be a priority. It's easy to think in a digital world that libraries are no longer as valuable, and this would be an easy place to cut the budget. This could not be more untrue. Libraries provide safe, accessible, and 100% free resources for every member in the community. Don't fall into the trap of thinking a library is just a place to check out books. It's so much more. They also offer a place to connect with others, meeting rooms, access to computers and high-speed internet, which several people have shared they need that at the library, as well as an unbelievable amount of programming for all age groups, including preschoolers, teens, adults, and even retirees. Programs offered just for March include the following: Family Story Time, Pause for Reading with Service Dogs, Teens Give Back Community Service Programs, College Test Prep, Job Seeking and Resume Resources, Estate and Will Planning Programs, and Local History and Genealogy courses. You will be hard-pressed to find any other business or organization that serves such a wide variety of community members. As a mom of 4, I would like to specifically speak on the wonderful resources the Cecil County Public Library offers for children, especially during the past 2 years of the pandemic, when school and activities were limited. The library was a constant provider of knowledge, educational resources, and fun for our family. When the library did briefly shut down, I quickly learned after a few Amazon orders just how much money a family saves by checking out books, movies, and even video games from the library. In addition, my children participated in online Zoom programs, and the library provided weekly activity kits for 3 different age groups. The library is one of our greatest resources and should be treated as such, but they can't reach their full potential if they aren't open and staffed. It's important for the library to be open on evening and weekends so people, especially those without internet or computers at home, or those without a safe environment at home, have access to these services. I understand we need to have a balanced budget, but I assure you cutting the funding for the library is not the place.
Tara Testerman, followed by Diana Hawley.
Hello, I'm Tara Testerman, lifelong county resident, parent of 2 kids in the Rising Sun School District, and I'm vice president of the Rising Sun Booster Club. I'm here in support of the Rising Sun Turf. In the press release announcing Elton's turf field, it was stated that the administration is focused on providing high-quality rec facilities that enhance youth programming, reduce maintenance costs, and serve the needs of multi-end users. The previous price tag for fulfilling this goal and leveling the playing field for all county high school athletes has now been cut in half due to the generous state grant of Elton's field. It's time to finish the job and fund a turf field for Rising Sun, completing a years-long upgrade of our county athletic facilities. The new field will greatly benefit Rising Sun High School, as everybody else has highlighted, but it also will benefit the county. It'll cut the overuse and premature maintenance of the Calvert turf. It'll provide another nearby turf field that can be used during Calvert's very busy and popular tournament season, which enhances the draw for these tournaments. But most importantly, it does provide Rising Sun athletes and band members a surface comparable to every other school in our county and every other school in our conference. And I'm just asking for your full support for funding simultaneous construction of the Rising Sun and Elton turf. Thank you.
Diana Hawley, followed by Aaron Chioma.
My name is Diana Hawley. I'm the president of the Cecil County Board of Education. Tonight I'm going to address two of the four CCPS budgets, the small and large capital improvement budgets. First, small caps, which aren't eligible for state funding. It includes some essential items like projects at Rising Sun High School and Bainbridge Elementary, which, if not addressed, could force the closing of these schools. It includes the gym floor at Upton High School, which must be replaced or it won't be usable. It also includes replacing the, I think, 44-year-old tennis courts at Perryville High School, on which we spend money year after year to patch huge cracks so our students will be safe, but which will never fix the problem or result in decent playing conditions. We do this at other schools like Elkton too. And other items in this budget, like the Rising Sun Elementary parking lot, paving various bus loops, and especially the 8 schools which still are in need of safe and secure entrances, are crucial projects that help ensure the safety of our students and staff. Yet they remain on this list each year unfunded. We simply can't use our limited fund balance to cover all these things. We already use it to help equalize operating costs and to cover emergency situations when they arise in our very aging buildings. CCPS has also developed a long-term plan to responsibly use some of our fund balance to prepare for a transition from the use of our federal CARES funds. These are the ESSER funds. Many of the resources that these funds are providing will still need to be sustained, including staffing. CCPS has transparently published all of these numbers and show exactly what was covered or will be covered using each round of ESSER funds spread over several fiscal years. Finally, large cap, we look forward to continued work towards building a new school in Northeast. The state committed to providing their portion of the funding for FY23, and we hope that the county will as well, so we can proceed again without additional delays. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Chioma, followed by
Hello, I'm Dr. Aaron Chioma. I'm a teacher at Northeast Middle School. I'm here to represent my colleagues, fellow educators, as well as the community stakeholders to remind you as our partner in education that the proposed budget for the Cecil County Public Schools should support the Cecil County Public Schools strategic plan. Our strategic plan has a vision, a mission, and a value statement. Our vision of equitable opportunities is commendable, to say the least, yet cuts could affect special education and English language learners disproportionately, making that vision unattainable. Our mission of safe schools is also noteworthy, yet that too would be compromised with budget cuts. And I want to remind you that an ounce of prevention is more valuable than a pound of cure. In addition to that, our value of high standards is minimized if we as educators are held to the same expectations, yet we are faced with greater student needs and decreased funding. Now I know that cutting dollars is the start of all of our conversations these days, but I'm also mindful of the fact that funding is a central component to providing a high quality education. And that expenditure often leads to improved outcomes, not only for students, but also for communities. So I'm just hoping that we're all strategically planning for that outcome. Thank you.
Ken Wiggins, followed by Anne-Marie Hamilton.
Well, Ken Wiggins, Cecil County resident. I reviewed my notes from last year's testimony, and it's pretty much the same thing. We talked about the operating budget for the library. It's an annual budget that covers maintenance, insurance, materials, the kinds of things that every household faces. We took a 5.7% reduction last year at our public library. That's more than any other agency that I'm aware of. It felt sort of mean-spirited, it felt sort of targeted, because it was deeper and greater than any other agency, and because it really affected the library's ability to do its job. So what happens when you take a 5.7% reduction? You have to cut services, you have to cut programs, you have to cut. And so you've heard a lot of people here testify why do we not have a library open? How does that affect working families? How does that affect children? And so I urge you to restore the operating budget for the library, the operating budget, and give it the money it needs to do its function for the citizens of this county. Thank you very much.
Anne Marie Hamilton, followed by Sarah Creek.
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Hamilton. I live and work in Elkton. I'm the Executive Director of the Cecil County Arts Council, and I'm here very simply to thank the administration for looking into the maintenance issues in our building. The Cecil County Arts Council, the Historical Society of Cecil County, and the Cecil Land Trust all share the building. We have a combined 110 years of being in business, and we hope to be 110 years more. Thank you so much for your support.
Sarah Creek, followed by Liz Dubravchich.
Hi, my name is Sarah Creek, and I have been a Cecil County public school teacher for 10 years now. I'm also a resident of Cecil County. My number one concern has always been and will always be the safety of our students. And so we're looking for an increase in the budget in order to provide more mental health care for our children who are really suffering after this pandemic. We're seeing things that we've never seen before. We're seeing anxiety and depression at the elementary school level, and it only gets worse the older these kids get. We need more resources within the school system so that we can provide a safe and healthy environment for them so that they can truly flourish. I'm also asking that we increase the budget so that we can hire more teachers and decrease class sizes. I'm currently teaching 3 classes of 28 kids. There's no room to move in my classroom, which leads to behavior problems, which leads to less individualized instruction for my kids. It's making it more difficult to serve my students with disabilities, my students who are English language learners. And so if we could increase the budget and hire more teachers, we will better serve our students and therefore better serve our community. I know a lot of teachers are leaving the field right now, and that has a lot to do with the budget. It has a lot to do with the fact that it's a high-stress job with a low-pay salary. And so if we could look at increasing in that area, I know that increased mental health care and decreased class sizes will increase teacher retention. And so these elements all work together. It saves the county money in the long run. We're not having to train new staff every single year. We're building those relationships with the community, and we're making families feel welcome and understand that education is our priority here in Cecil County. Thank you for your time.
Liz Dubravchich, followed by Dan Bell.
Hi, I'm Liz Dubravchich, a resident of Elkton for 35 years and also a government employee. I'd like to speak in favor of restoring the Family Medical Leave Act for county employees. It's a different level of government, but it's a very minuscule part of the salary and fringe benefits, and actually just a tiny part of the overall budget. But it is very important to employees to have, that we have their backs when they need it. In my experience, it's been such that they don't take this kind of leave lightly. And so they only take it when it's critical in their family to support a sick child or ailing parent. And so it doesn't seem fair that they do all this work for us and they go above and beyond in the pandemic and providing services and so looking for the community. So I think we should, I urge you to do that. I also have a question about the investment income that you had, wasn't actually up there, but it declined from about over $1 million in fiscal 2020, and then I saw that in fiscal 2021 it was just 128,000 and some. So that's a drop of 88%. And during that same time, Standard & Poor's was up by 38%.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dan
Bell, question.
Thank you.
Followed by Evelyn Burkhouse.
Hello, my name is Dan Bell. I am the president of the Rising Sun Tigers Athletic Boosters. We're a nonprofit organization that works with the school personnel and coaches to help raise funds for the various athletic programs at Rising Sun High School. And I'm here tonight, County Executive Danielle Wimberger, to request your support for the funding of the Rising Sun High School synthetic turf field in your 2023 budget. People say, why should Rising Sun have a turf field? We have Calvert. Well, that decision has already been made because Bow Manor, Northeast, Perryville all have turf fields that were funded by the county. And now Elkton would have a turf field that you, Danielle, are supporting, and I'm glad you're supporting that. You should be supporting that for all the high schools. Rising Sun had the funding allocated from the previous administration for the turf field project, but that got delayed due to COVID. And then you ended up pulling the funding for that project. And so there it sits. So that was actually part of the Calvert Park expansion project. Can you tell us, I think there's what for that grant that you're receiving was what, 1.2 million? Is that roughly correct? Do you know?
Sir, we cannot answer questions as part of the public comment period.
Well, I'm saying that it was 1.2 million. Should be about 800,000 to install turf field. So you'd have some extra money left over from that grant. And then there is that 21 million surplus that again wasn't talked about from higher property values as well as from the economic zone, right? Take some of that funds there to help put in 2 fields. You put a bid in to have 2 fields installed instead of 1, you should get a better deal on that as well, right? You lower the cost across the board. At Rising Sun High School, during the spring season, end of the fall season, we're playing on dirt, not grass, right? We don't have enough fields, adequate fields for the number of teams that need to play in the short duration. The turf field would be the appropriate for our teams. Again, we don't have the management to be able to maintain these fields.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Evelyn Burkhouse, followed by Jamie Marshall.
I'm here to advocate for the library. We have wonderful facilities and a dedicated and helpful staff, but they are unable to provide enough hours of service. Our libraries close at 6 rather than 9 as before. I belong to a weekly self-help group, which has been very much affected by the pandemic and the early closing of the libraries. There's competition for the small rooms, and our group is not available for most employed people as it ends too early. I have enjoyed benefits over the years. I've attended wonderful entertainment, educational, and training programs, and much more. I have observed high school and college students as well as younger children whose parents pick them up at 6. The libraries give a supervised, safe place for children and teens after school and in the summertime. The libraries, I've appreciated help communicating on the computers very much. The library provides the only free access to computer and high-speed internet in the county. And many of us seniors use it. I have observed many children being tutored in the libraries. The libraries also provide starting small businesses and help in obtaining jobs. The support for our children and those seeking jobs is crucial with the current situation. And I made it.
Jamie Marshall, followed by Doris Obenshain.
Hello, my name is Jamie Marshall. I'm a Cecil County resident. Thank you for having us. You campaigned on decreasing taxes. In fact, everyone I know is paying higher property taxes. This is shown in the budget report by the 21 million budget surplus increase in county revenues. You campaigned on working with a balanced budget and not using the rainy day fund. Yet no sooner was the budget submitted than an additional request of $2.15 million due to miscalculation in the school budget. Seeing the procedure to prepare the budget, I wonder how this could happen. Recently, you came back to the county asking for an additional $2.8 million to offset the 6% salary and fringe benefit increases that were put in place in January. I don't disagree with the wage and benefit increases. We need to pay our employees a living wage and keep competitive in salaries. But why not use the surplus of $21 million to pay those salary increases? Why deplete the rainy day fund? You've requested that the county council pass resolution 092022 supplemental appropriation for these expenses. By doing this, you're asking not to use the surplus money from property tax increases, but instead you're asking for money that was supposed to go to infrastructure. Leave that money for its intended purpose for the infrastructure and take that from the surplus for the salary increases, and also please restore the 2.15 for the school budget to the rainy day fund. Our citizens want transparency and accountability. We have the right to know the value of salary increases and fringe benefits each department receives. You gave raises to most but not all the staff, and as was stated earlier, some deputies didn't get the raises and left service as a result.
Doris Obenshain, followed by Lori Brinko.
Good evening. My name is Doris Obenshain. I'm a resident of Cecilton, Maryland. I would like to say I noted that this administration campaigned on being transparent, and with only 2 minutes, I'm going to just speak to two aspects of transparency. First of all, I want to thank the County Council for establishing a board of estimates. We need this kind of oversight on how our taxpayer dollars are spent. Word has it that this administration is buying a building for its legal team when we already own a beautiful 3-story brick building in downtown Elton, which currently stands empty, despite the fact that it's been said that that's no longer being pursued. An architect was sent to take measurements of the building. We clearly need oversight so that we don't buy buildings that are not needed. And having the Department of Public Works would be a key component to making sure that our county is doing the right thing for the residents and with our taxpayer money. Secondly, I believe that our citizens deserve greater accountability concerning the money that was received from the CARES Act and from the ARPA funds. To my knowledge, there has not been any sort of panel that has invited citizens to give their input on how these monies should be spent. In fact, as has been noted, the money has been sitting idle. And with all of the requests that have been made this evening that are certainly very worthy, I request that the County Council and the County Executive begin working to make sure that these funds are used. Surely, schools and libraries have been affected by COVID and would very much be eligible for the use of these funds. Thank you very much.
Lori Brinko, followed by our last constituent, Katie Keys, tonight.
Good evening. Thank you, County Executive Hornberger, for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm Lori Brinko, a 7th grade science teacher at Northeast Middle School and president of the Cecil County Classroom Teachers Association, representing 1,300 teachers, school counselors, therapists, school psychologists, and media specialists. I've been a resident of Elton since 1997 when I began teaching at Northeast Middle School, and when I was hired, I was told Northeast Middle School would be renovated soon. It's been 24 years, and so I'm really happy to see that you're continuing to push that project forward. I very much appreciate that, as do my students. I became a teacher because I have a passion for helping kids, helping them grow and learn about themselves and their world. That's what makes science awesome. And that's why our teachers and staff do what we do, to help our kids in our community. We're a people profession, and so about 80% of the school budget is for staff, with the other part for facilities, technology, transportation, utilities, and the like. We need to support our staff as they are at the front line working with our kids. Over the past 15 years, we've tried to achieve gradual raises based on the CPIU rate, and this year the CPIU rate has reached 7%. While the county executive has been able to provide that increase for some of their employees, CCPS does not have the funds to provide that COLA for our staff. We've continued being good stewards of funds, making the dollars stretch. We are still down 126 positions since 2008 and continuing to do more with less. It's no longer just reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have to provide special education services, support for English language learners, OT, PT, speech path, support for infants and toddlers identified with special needs, counseling, psychologists, breakfast and lunch, technology, advanced prep and college courses, career and trade programs. We need to do this because it's the right thing and because our students and community need it. Please support the proposed CCPS budget. Help us retain our teachers and support our students. Thank you.
Katie Keys, please.
Good evening. I'll be short and sweet, I promise. I'm Katie Keys. I am a lifetime resident of Rising Sun. I'm the field hockey coach at Rising Sun High School. Currently, the field hockey team has no playable field at Rising Sun High School due to the new driveway and parking lot that Parks and Rec built to connect the high school to Calvert. Every day, the team has to walk to Calvert Turf, a 10 to 15-minute walk to practice. Calvert Turf is our home field for home games, which means that players have to walk the 10 to 15 minutes to get to the field before the game to warm up. We also rarely have the opportunity to have a student section because we play our games off-site. Bottom line, the field hockey team will not ever have the opportunity to play at Rising Sun High School until there is a turf field built at Rising Sun High School. So I support a turf field being built at Rising Sun High School. Thanks.
Thank you. That's everyone.
I was able to get the date and time for the public hearing being held by the County Council. It will be Thursday, May 19th at 7 p.m. And that will be published on the website as well at Elkhorn High School.
All right, so again, I want to thank you all for attending this evening. Special thanks to those of you who provided comment. We will make sure to keep your thoughts and comments in mind throughout the upcoming budget season and process. If you have any questions or concerns or were unable to make comment tonight and still wish to submit your input, please feel free to contact me at dhornberger@ccgov.org. Please stay tuned for more information on the FY 2023 budget by visiting our website at ccgov.org and by following us on Facebook. Thank you all and have a safe night.